When this movie came out, everybody thought that was a real restaurant.
Interesting.
Everybody actually thought that was a real restaurant.
You know, they did that at Mel's.
I know. I heard about that. I heard about that. So it's interesting how cinema can make people think things are real. He did such a good job with the setting of that restaurant. And people was like, that has to be a real place in LA.
Right.
What's up, y'all? My name is Chris Ellis, and this is The Main Ingredient with Chris Ellis. Today, we have special actress, producer, voiceover actress, Miss Tina Gilton. Tina, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. You know, it's been a long time. We worked together a long time ago. And that was actually a really successful project.
Definitely.
Maybe financially for both of us, it wasn't successful.
That's true.
But as far as getting the project out there, and you and Shaquille had a real viral moment.
Absolutely.
I think that clip had over 150,000 views.
I think it's like close to 3.
It went crazy. And it just kept going and going and going. Like it'll slow down, and I look again, it's like 30,000 more views up. So even to this day, it's still going. And I want to say that was about 8-9 years ago. It was a long time ago. So yeah, we have a history, and it's always good to, we're IG friends, so it's always good to see that you're still working and you're in SAG.
Yes, I am.
Officially SAG. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep, I'm in a union.
That's always good to hear that. I always want to see my young Black women winning, and it looks like you're winning, and you're going for your goals, and you're going for your dreams.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying.
I see. I see. I'll be fine. I see you doing your thing. So today, we're here to talk about the movie Pulp Fiction, 1994, Quentin Tarantino. It was one of your choices.
Yes.
So why did you choose it?
Oh, man. Well, Tarantino is one of my favorite filmmakers, probably of all time.
He is dope.
Going through, looking at the films, I was like, man, all the films I like are, made by Tarantino. So I decided on Pulp Fiction. It's one of my favorites. And I think it's an incredibly powerful thing that Tarantino does with his films, because he a lot of times puts his female characters in a very protagonistic or antagonistic role where there's empowerment there. He does that in every film. You see that with Uma Thurman. You see that with Vivica Fox. You see that with Lucy Liu. We've seen that in Pulp Fiction, even with his lead, where Uma made another appearance there. She did it in Kill Bill. So I feel like there's kind of this, you get to see a woman in a role where she's empowered. She has equal screen time. There's usually some very deeper context to the story, like what you saw in Kill Bill with Uma and her child and things of that nature. So I feel like as a woman, it's great to see that there's a male filmmaker out there making content where we're not just an afterthought. We're not a second thought. We're not there to just support the male characters, but we can actually drive the story. Yeah. And I think that's what made me love Tarantino so much. And Pulp Fiction happens to be one of my favorites.
Tarantino's not scared to make women leads in his movies.
At all.
He's not scared at all. He gives them big screen time. Whereas a lot of directors are more male driven.
Right.
They're looking for that strong male figure to kind of lead the whole story.
Yes.
Quentin's like, hey, if the women is running Kill Bill, the women is running Kill Bill.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. So I enjoy that about his movies too. It's more free flowing as far as his direction. Is like there's never one story going on in a Tarantino movie. It's always multiple things going on, even though you have a hierarchy of star leading people, it feels like everybody's a star in his movies.
In his movies, right. It's true.
I mean, that's just how it feels. It feels like everybody has their screen time to help fulfill the total part of what the story's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I like about this. When you mentioned Tarantino, it made me smile because the people can't see it, but right behind you, I have the poster Reservoir Dogs. And that's like my favorite movie of his. only because it introduced a part of filmmaking I had never seen before. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, it opened my eyes to how creative you can be artistically filmmaking. It doesn't have to be so structured. You know, I went to film school for a while and it's very structured. You do it this way, you write it this way, first act, second act, third act, and you don't get out of those boxes. And he's way out of the box.
Yeah.
even on time on screen, it's like his movies are almost 3 hours sometimes. Like he doesn't go for the hour and a half movies. And that's part of the, you know, when you're in film school, they want you to keep in that sweet spot around 90 minutes, anything less than 2 hours. Quentin has movies that's over 3 hours easily. Even when he chops them up, they're still almost 3 hours
very true.
each. So I really appreciate that about Quentin Tarantino. That's something I learned is like, just go where the movie takes you. Don't try to follow too much structure. You know, you have to have structure, but not too much structure. Flow with wherever the movie takes you, flow. So that's one thing I really appreciate about Tarantino and his films.
In terms of what you mentioned in regard to structure, another thing that I noticed about him, you could look at Tarantino's film and almost like really break them up. They could actually be done in other sequences. And he does that in almost all of his films. You've seen that in Kill Bill. You've seen that with Pulp Fiction. You've seen that with Reservoir Dogs. Like there's always sort of this space where, you know, there's a chronological order to the film. But if you were to actually essentially split that up, there are ways that you could look at the films in other ways. And then he also crosses things like he'll mix in anime, you know, with his films. There's always sort of like this sort of hyper-realistic space where it kind of, you're in a very non-fictional space in terms of the reality of the things that are happening in the film. But he always has this really like fantastic or whimsical piece of his film that's kind of just way out there. Kind of like when in the, you know, even in the Kill Bill sequence where they're playing, the musicians are playing in the background, it's like all this fighting going on. It's like 88 on one. It's like he always has this really like, you're like, well, this couldn't really happen, but it's happening in his film.
In his film,
it's happening. So
happens in his film.
I love it. Pulp Fiction's one of my faves. You know, seeing Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta together, it was like movie magic.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, starring John Travolta as Vincent Vega, Samuel Jackson as Jules Winfield, Uma Thurman as Mia Wallace, Harvey Keitel as Winston Wolfe, Ving Rhames as Marcellus Wallace, Bruce Willis as Butch Coolidge, Eric Stoltz as Lance, and Ringo and Yolanda as Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer. The budget was $8.5 million, and it grossed $213 at the box office. It did numbers.
Major success.
It goes to the fact of in Hollywood, when you bring in those type of numbers, they pretty much open up a checkbook for you. Because after that, he was flying. He was kind of flying with Reservoir Dogs.
He was.
But after this, oh my God. He took off. And they just kind of just gave him a blank check. Whatever you want to do. You know, whatever you want to do, Quentin, you just do it. Which is, for a director, that's actually our dream. Like, for a studio to say, do what you want to do. You know, don't worry about going over budget.
All this money.
Yeah, just take the money.
Full creative control.
Just take the money. We're not going to give you any notes. Just take the checkbook and get what you... That is the dream of any director because now you have full control over your set, your actors, casting, and everything. But what I want to say to new directors is that that's rare air. There's only a handful of directors that have that type of leverage. And those guys got 30 years in the game. Like, just to make it clear, no new directors coming on and getting that much leverage on a major studio. It just does not happen. Your name needs to be Spike Lee, Quentin Tarantino, John Singleton had that much clout.
Absolutely.
Scorsese. Even Ava DuVernay.
Oh, absolutely.
Ava has that.
Creative visions.
She has that. So you have certain directors, maybe Antoine Fuqua. They have that leeway to kind of go over budget or not even have a budget just to tell a story. You know, and that's every director. I know it's my dream. Open book to make a movie. So in the opening scene, we have Ringo and Yolanda in a cafe. And they're having a normal couple conversation. You can tell they love each other. He calling her baby. And, you know, you can see the love between the two. Honey bun. Gets mushy, you know. And then it turns into Ringo telling a story about a guy robbing a bank without a gun. I don't know how they got from lovey-dovey to robbing a bank, but they went there. Mm-hmm. And he comes up with an idea. They come up with an idea to rob the cafe because you catching everybody by surprise. Everybody's in there eating, which is kind of true. Nobody's really thinking they're going to get robbed in the cafe. So it really starts off with the robbery. The whole movie starts off with the robbery, and there's they have a couple of guests in there that we won't talk about now that come in later that's in this cafe that brings it all to a close. But yeah, it starts off with the robbery. And in San Leandro, there's a Denny's on 150th that gets robbed a lot, right? Routinely gets robbed. For anybody that doesn't know, San Leandro, California. And I've always wondered, how would you rob a place that has 40, 50 people in it? You don't know if one of them is a cop. You don't know if one of them is a sheriff. Like, you don't know. It's kind of dangerous. It's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I always wondered, like, what's the thought process? Because you don't know who's around the corner. If one of the chefs is an ex-Marine, like, you don't know. It's kind of crazy. Right. So when I saw that, it just made me think about that one particular Denny's, because it's always robbed. And for everybody that doesn't know, across the freeway from the Denny's is the sheriff's station. Department.
Hey, I saw that. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right?
Think about that.
You know what I think motivates that is how it's being responded to. I think if you've seen a location, it's been hit however many times and you're not seeing really severe consequences, or there's no real urgency there. A lot of times people pick targets like that because they know what the outcome and essentially is going to be. And most people case spaces like that too. They're looking at it, before it happens. They know when it's downtime. They know when there's less employees in there. They know when it carries more money. Why do I know all this information?
Why do you know all this?
Forgive me.
You did your research.
I did my research. But yeah, so I think that's what motivates that. And then I also think, like, very much like the characters in the movie, they don't always have, they got a couple of screws loose sometimes. They're not always people that are thinking about consequences, right? They're a little bit more reckless, maybe
it's a crime of opportunity.
Yeah, crime of opportunity. Maybe they come from a desperate situation where, whatever's happening on the other side is going to be worse than the consequences of that. I don't know, but that's my guess. That's my guess. It could
be worse.
Not that I'm out here in these streets committing crime or anything, but yeah.
She's a law-abiding citizen, you guys. Don't even worry about that. So Vincent and Jules, Samuel Jackson and John Travolta, they're driving to pick up a suitcase for Marcellus Wallace from these three guys. Now, the interesting thing is we never find out whether the suitcase was given to the guys or did they steal the suitcase. But they came there to kill them and take the suitcase. So it was kind of unclear. I mean, what's your idea? Like, do you think they stole it? Or was it something that Marcellus gave to them they were supposed to give back? Like, because they never really explained.
I feel like the way the film points to the importance of the suitcase and sort of all the things that they're willing to go through to get it, even though we don't know what's in it.
We never
know what's in it, right? But it's a protected suitcase. We know that.
Yes.
And we know that it's an essential part of the movie where they go in and it's kind of like the start of the day. This is something that they're coming to collect.
Yes.
And we see what happens to the people in the process of them collecting it. So that tells me, I think, being the kind of man that Marcellus Wallace was, is that it more than likely would be something that was owed to him. That's what I'm thinking. Rather than it being taken. Because he kind of operates as a man on principle, if you really think about how he is in the entire film, right? His principles are pretty, even though, he's this major, boss, he operates on principles.
He seems pretty solid.
He
didn't seem like a loose cannon.
So I'm thinking it was owed to him, something that belongs to him or something that was owed to him that he sent them.
So maybe they were supposed to bring it back to him by a certain time and they didn't, type of situation. But he made the final call saying kill him.
Right.
Because they didn't have to kill him technically. They could have just took it.
Right.
But I think he might have made the call saying, hey, they was playing with me too much. And this is kind of like, just to show the streets that you can't play with Marcellus like that. Because they went up there and got it. They got it done. And what was funny about that scene was that Samuel Jackson, he had this long dialogue, but he ended up eating the guy burger and drinking his soda. Like, it's so disrespectful. The whole time, you know you're getting ready to kill this guy, but you're going to eat his burger, his final meal, and drink his final soda.
I mean, down to the last slurp.
You can hear it. You can hear it. He took everything out of there. And Vince is in the background, just like, he don't care about none of this stuff. He was like, Vince, have you ever eaten that big kahuna? No, I don't eat that stuff. He just like, where's the suitcase at?
Right.
He just came there for what he came in there for. But it also, it lets you know from the very beginning that is kind of childish and goofy as Samuel Jackson's character and Vince's character is, how they make jokes and stuff like that. They're about their business.
They are.
You know, they might joke around, but they wasn't playing when they walked in that apartment. They came there to do something, and they did it amongst everything else. Samuel even gave the guy a sermon before he shot him.
It's my favorite part of the movie.
Sermon.
I will strike down upon thee. That's my
I'm glad you remembered
my favorite scene in the movie.
I was like, ooh, I think he about to shoot him. Like, he's talking like he's getting ready to shoot that guy. And I think that guy knew it. But I'm wondering, because the guy on the couch, Jules only shot him once and kind of dismissed him. But that guy in the chair, they both shot him a lot. So I'm thinking, was he the target and everybody else was casualties of war? They put a lot of bullets in that guy in the seat. And it was like more of a personal. It feels like Marcellus might have been like, make sure you make an example of him. You know what I'm saying? It just felt more personal with the guy in the chair than the guy on the couch.
Yeah, I could have that takeaway. I think the flock of seagulls, right? That's what he calls them. Over there, flock of seagulls. I think the guy on the couch, it was more so about, where is it? I'm asking you where it is. You're delaying it. You're acting like you don't know. And it's like, boom, we're going to use you as a warning to let everybody else in the room, because they shoot him first.
Yeah,
so we're letting you know he's dead. Y'all see we're not playing. We're here to get the suitcase. But I think it's the fact that the man sitting in the chair, Brett, shoots at Samuel. No, you're talking
about the guy that came out.
He's in the chair, but that delayed reaction in him not listening to what they were saying and kind of pushing back on what they came there for results in somebody coming out from the back and firing all these shots.
Right.
You're right, though. I do think because he was a main target, and they end up taking Marvin in the car, remember? So they don't kill Marvin intentionally, at least, right? Kind of wondering what's the motivation behind that.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to Marvin.
But yeah, that's plausible. Maybe Brett was the intended target. Maybe Brett is the person responsible for returning the suitcase or giving whatever was in it, essentially, especially because they were talking to him in the room the most.
Yeah.
Trying to get him to cough up the information. That's true.
Yeah, they focused on him. So I was thinking like maybe he was the actual target. And the friend might have just been here on the fluke.
Yeah.
He might have just been
collateral
eating breakfast
damage.
There. It's collateral damage. That's why your parents always said, be careful who you hang with.
That's true. Right.
They can get you in a whole lot of trouble. So they end up leaving there. And well, let's get to this part. Marvin was actually in cahoots with Vince. He was Vince's friend, and he's the one who actually set up that whole situation. So Marvin wasn't as innocent as he looked in the initial whole plot of that apartment. It's like he was sitting there scared and shaking. No, dude, you set all this up. Like you set it all up. You don't find that out till later, but it's kind of good that not good, but it's kind of, well, it is kind of good that you see that in the end, they didn't just shoot Marvin because he's a witness.
Right.
They could have just,
shot him on the scene.
Just shot him. Like, we can't leave no witness. Even if he's a part of the plan, he got to go. They was like, come on, you come with us. So that was kind of cool. I guess they showed him some love by taking him with them. In the end, he really didn't get no love.
Until they shot him in the face.
Right. So, but in the apartment, they open up the suitcase. And here we go with this glow. In your opinion, what do you think was in the damn suitcase?
I don't know.
And why was it shining? Do you think it was gold bars? Because what was this gold glow about?
Yeah, I don't know what the glow was about. I think the glow symbolizes that there was something valuable in it and something that was, when we think of a shine, right? You open up anything, you open up a window and there's, the sunshine. If you open up a ring box and, you've got the lights on the box, right? I think that it's a symbolization of like something valuable inside or something worth something looking at inside. I don't know what was in the suitcase. I don't even know what would fit in the suitcase that would make it that important that all those people would die over it. But I assume whatever it is was something of great value.
It was something of great value. Yeah. And I don't think they ever talked about what was actually in the suitcase, correct?
He looks at it and it's the look that he gives. It lets me know I think it's something tangible.
Okay.
Because he doesn't just open it. If it's a piece of paper, you're not going to, I don't know, you have that kind of reaction to it, right? But he looks at it and it's like, whoa, like I've never seen anything like it. I'm thinking like a piece of jewelry. Like some precious diamond.
I was thinking jewelry too.
Yeah,
but you never know. That's the thing. I mean, that's what's great about the screenplay is like they never reveal what's in it. So all these people risking their lives, penitentiary chances, they're killing people, all type of stuff, and we don't know what they're doing it for.
Yeah.
In the end, we have no idea what's in the suitcase. But that's what makes the story interesting is that it's all about this suitcase that we have no idea what's in it. So kudos to Quentin for keeping us.
In the dark limbo, about
in the dark, yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's a jewel. That's what I'm guessing.
Possibly jewelry.
I'm saying
I hope it was
like
gold
a precious
bars.
diamond or something.
You think it's something that people have never seen before?
I think it's something never, because when he opens it up, he's like, and I think he says it's like a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm thinking, I don't know about gold bars, because I don't know if you'd open it up and be like, hey, that right there. That's a thing. I think it's something precious.
I would go with your theory if it was a glowing white light or bluish light. I would say diamonds. But that gold shine. Why gold?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
that's what's confusing me.
Because
you could be right, but it has a gold shine on it.
See, you say gold. I feel like it was lighter than gold.
You think it was lighter than gold?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit lighter. I think it had kind of like a split between sort of what you see in the sunlight and a gold kind of, I think it was like an illumination.
Okay.
So I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking. A precious jewel, something that they've never seen before. That's probably worth millions of dollars.
Jewels.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking something along those lines too. Okay. So we get to Marcellus in his club, and he's talking to Butch.
Yep.
Bruce Willis's character. And basically he's telling Butch, at your next fight, you go down in the 5th round, because I'm assuming they're going to fix the fight. Marcellus is going to bet, to win some money in the fight. And Butch is like, okay. So he makes him repeat it. I go down in the 5th round. My ass goes down in the 5th round. He repeats it. And then when he hands him the money, he said, you my nigga. And he said, say it. Then he said, you understand that, right? He said, I guess so. You know what I'm saying? Now, I do want to bring that up because Quentin got into a heated debate with NAACP and Spike Lee over in the beginning to the middle of his career over the N-word being used excessively in his movies. Do you think he uses it excessively, or does it make sense? Because even in this movie, it's said about 100 times. Do you think that's too much, or,
I think he uses it probably the amount of times that people use it behind closed doors.
Okay.
If you're asking my honest opinion, I think if you notice the characters in his films that use the word, if you really pay attention to the characters that he uses in the film to use the words, there are always those people that are like kind of like either, despicable people, really despicable people, or they're the passers. They're the ones that you would see every day and would never think that that's how they speak with, when they're alone with their friends or in their own homes, privacy of their homes. And I feel like that's what you see in Pulp Fiction when he uses it in the kitchen, but he's married to Bonnie. I think that's exactly what you see, the type of guy that would go to work, and be in an environment with everybody. And then when he comes home and he's having his cup of coffee in his kitchen with his pals, that's probably the language that he uses behind closed doors. So I think that it's realistic in the sense that, no, not everybody runs around using that word. But I think the characters that he's choosing to use that word in his films, those are the kind of people that probably do use that word.
Okay.
And I bet you Quentin's seen it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure these are archetypes for things he's seen.
But I also think that they were kind of, they were kind of lightweight picking on Quentin because he's a white guy. I don't think Spike Lee would have got the same.
For using the word?
You see what I'm saying? Like, if a black director would have the N-word said 100 times in the movie, I don't think nobody would have blinked.
We see it all the time. Yeah. But he's using the hard R too.
And that's the issue.
Yeah. So
he has the characters using the hard R, but like you said, that one particular character, his wife was black.
Yeah.
So is it a hard R? Or it was a
hard R.
It was a hard R. It was a hard R. Yes, it was a hard R. But if your wife's black, what's your intention behind hard R? Because clearly you don't hate black people, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think there's some of our ancestors that might beg to differ. I mean, I don't know.
Good point.
I mean, partaking in that area and having an affinity does not necessarily mean that racism is not a part of your culture or even a part of the habit maybe that you're used to. Maybe you're not an extremely racist person. Maybe you've been brought up in a culture that has perpetuated that. So you don't necessarily believe that about the people you're talking about, but you're used to hearing the term in the language. Maybe that's what he's, so doing in his films. It's just flying out. Yeah. You're not even conscious of it.
Unfiltered. It's just an unfiltered way of how you speak.
Yeah, lots of ways to look at that.
I guess that makes sense. Vincent goes to visit Lance. Lance is the guy with the wife with the piercings. Lance is Eric Stoltz. That's the actor who also played in Elephant Man. I think that he was known for the Elephant Man movie. Great actor. Great actor. So Vincent goes to visit Lance to get a bump. And this is where we find out that Vincent is a heroin addict. I had no idea until this happened that, damn, he owned that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so he actually ends up buying some special blend that he said, okay, this is this much, but this is the special stuff that'll knock you on your ass or whatever and stuff. So Vincent buys that. And he asks him, can he shoot it up at his house? He shoots it up at his house. Essentially, I feel like Vincent was getting high because he was given the task to hang out with Mia Wallace, which is Marcellus's wife. And he knows she's a wild girl. And if something happens to her, you could lose your life. So it brings a lot of pressure because that's a lot of responsibility. You know what I'm saying? When you have to do whatever she says, but you can't let her hurt herself or it comes back on you. Let me take this back. He was always a heroin addict. Let me just get that out the way. But I'm thinking he was shooting up at that particular time right before taking her out because he was kind of nervous about taking her out. Because remember, Jules and even the bartender at Marcellus's club was teasing him about it. Oh, you got to take Mia out, huh? Have you ever met Mia? And then they started laughing at him because clearly he don't know Mia.
Right.
It's a wild girl.
Or trouble that's coming with her, right? Yeah.
Uma Thurman, wild girl.
Right.
So I think he took that bump at Lance's house to kind of ease the stress, I guess. Because he could have waited till after and took it to relax after the night was over. He took it before.
That's an interesting take.
You know what I'm saying? He was like, I'm going to get high now so I can kind of get high and get through the process. Because I think after the laughing and the jokes they were making at him, that he knew she was going to be a handful without even knowing her. He kind of probably knew like, okay, they laughing about Mia. She's probably going to give me a hard time tonight, which she really didn't. She just likes to have fun.
Right.
She's just a fun girl.
Right.
And maybe Marcellus is more subdued. He's not that type of dude. So he's like, just have one of my goons take her out and have fun or whatever, which is kind of weird. You got your boys taking out your wife. What you think about that? How would you feel if your husband or boyfriend had one of his friends take you out?
I mean, that's loaded.
It's a loaded question.
That's loaded. It's interesting how people see Mia, because I think the first time I ever saw that film, I looked at it like, yeah, she's just fun. She likes to go out. Maybe she's a little bit lonely because her husband's away and she just likes to have a good time. But she's also being entertained by some of his goons. To a certain extent, she is pushing the line.
She is.
With, just trying to dance with them and she's pushing the line. So I sometimes wonder if that was sort of like a hint to maybe something deeper than that.
Like what? Maybe she was having an affair on him or something?
Not necessarily that she was having an affair, but maybe that she enjoyed kind of like having, being escorted by another man, having that flirtation and because we don't really see her. If you look at the entire scope of the film, we don't see the interaction between Marcellus Wallace and Mia until they're at poolside, yes. Right? Through the whole film. Yeah. I think that's slightly intentional. And so if a woman is left alone often, all the time, and her husband's working and he's this big, powerful man and she's not really being entertained, maybe she's a little bit more fiery and fun like we see her character. Fiery and fun, I could see how, maybe she'd be pushing the line a little bit, maybe not crossing it, but maybe pushing it.
True, because there was a discussion between Jules and Vincent before they went into the guy's apartment.
About what happened last
about the foot massage.
That's right.
And I never thought about a foot massage until I saw that scene. And I'm like, Vincent is right. If it wasn't that big of a deal, would a man give another man a foot massage?
Right.
And that is true. I would not give another man a foot massage.
How many wives go around letting other men give them foot massages?
Right.
I'm just saying.
So it was more of, it's not as simple as a massage.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and I guess that's what Vince was trying to tell Samuel Jackson's character, like, yo,
yeah,
you could get shot over giving somebody's wife a foot massage.
Yeah.
Or I think in this case, they said that Marcellus threw the guy through a window, out the window, 4 stories high, over giving his wife a foot massage, which later on we found out that might not have happened.
Right.
According to Mia.
Right.
She said, do you really think you would have done that? Right. Yeah. So we don't really know if that's actually what the deal is with the guy getting thrown out the window. So Vincent is higher than a kite. He's higher than a kite when he goes to pick up Mia in this big mansion. Looks like might be in a valley somewhere, somewhere in LA. She starts off immediately playing games, like watching him on the security camera. Not even being at the door waiting for him. She's watching him walk around in the house, go get a drink. I'll be down in 2 shakes of a tail feather or something like that, she said. She starts off kind of just like playing games. I'm like, oh, she one of those. Like, she want to see what you're going to do in her house. And she kind of just want to play around. I feel like she's a free-spirited woman. And she just kind of going to do whatever she wants to do. Because even when she comes downstairs, she's like, okay, let's go. Like, she kind of orders him like, let's go. It seems like Marcellus didn't have an idea. It feels like Marcellus didn't understand the type of wife he had. Because had he known that, he'd have known that she was doing too much on the blow. She's doing a lot of blow. She knew a whole lot of blow. She was doing it when he picked her up. She took a bump then. Right. You know what I'm saying? So she got high. He's already high off heroin. She's high off coke, and they're going out. That's a recipe for disaster. Immediately.
Right.
But what do you think about what I was saying about her, like, kind of playing around with the situation when he came over? Instead of just taking it more serious, she kind of like, watching him on security camera. What do you think that was about?
I feel like my perspective as a woman, I think that she was calculated a little bit. I think she was kind of looking at him, observing how his behavior would be. She was checking him out. She could have been checking him out for attraction levels. She could have been, I think there's a little bit, I love Mia's character.
I do too.
And I think that her character is very clean, very solid. But I feel like there is a hint of like her being a little bit flirtatious and maybe being a little bit lonely. And I think that to me is what you're seeing when she's looking and observing and kind of, coming out barefoot and like sort of has a red lipstick on. And it's like, there's kind of like a vibe there that's like, where there's like a little bit of her being meticulous about how she engages him and sort of looking at how he is in her environment. I think that's methodical. I actually think that kind of leads her into the space where she ends up later after they have, the dinner. I think she's pushing the envelope every step of the way, from inside of the home to the point where they're sitting down at the restaurant. And I think there's a reason for that. I think she likes flirting with danger a little bit.
Do you think it's because it was Vincent, or you think she's kind of like that with anybody Marcellus would have sent there?
I think think some of it had to do with the mystique of Vincent, because if you kind of look at Vincent's archetype and you look at Mia, it fits pretty well from, they have this sort of quirky, kind of eclectic, vibe. They're a little different, style's a little different. And I think maybe she saw like a little bit of, herself. And because he's the opposite of what you see with Marcellus Wallace.
Yes.
Even with the seriousness, how playful he is and how aloof he is. And like, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he's sort of like, has Mia's sort of demeanor, in a man's, form.
Right.
And I think that part of her maybe might have been a little bit intrigued. I won't say attracted. I'll say intrigued by that.
Intrigued, not really attracted.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that being a thing, because in the beginning, see, one thing I want to say about Uma Thurman, her eyes, man, she got beautiful eyes.
Gorgeous
man.
eyes.
Like, my wife has nice eyes, but her eyes, when I was looking at this movie, I'm like, man, she got some nice eyes. And the way she was like studying him, when she was looking at him, it did feel like it could have been an attractiveness, but it felt like also she was studying him.
Right.
The way she was just staring at him, almost like she was looking through him.
Right.
And he was so high, he really didn't
paying attention.
He wasn't paying attention to it, but she was looking dead at him, locked in on him. And I was just like, wow, like he doesn't really understand that she's reading him right now. As his mind is all over the place. He really just wants the night to be over with. Honestly, he really just wants it to be over with. He sees it as like he got a bad assignment from the boss. He's not even looking at it like, he can have a fun time with this lady and just have a fun time with a friend. He's looking at it like, man, you stuck me with the kid. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of went into it. Vincent went into it with the wrong way of looking at it. He ended up having some fun from it, but in the end, it kind of turned really bad.
Yeah, it did.
So they get in a car and they go to a place called Jack Rabbit Slim's, which it looks like a restaurant where they have old Hollywood figures, Marilyn Monroe.
Right.
I forgot what the guy's name is, the dude who did the talk show, Merv Griffin or something like that. But 50s, 60s Hollywood people. Now, I looked this up. When this movie came out, everybody thought that was a real restaurant.
Interesting.
Everybody actually thought that was a real restaurant.
They did that at Mel's.
I know. I heard about that. I heard about that. So it's interesting how cinema can make people think things are real. He did such a good job with the setting of that restaurant that people was like, that has to be a real place in LA.
Right.
Like, it has to be a real place. But it was interesting the way it was set up, because it was a restaurant, but you had the huge dance floor in the middle.
Right.
But you could sit in a card table.
Right.
That was kind of dope.
I loved it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like
Classic
that.
cars. I love it.
And you would listen to 50s music, if you're into that type of stuff. So I'm like, if somebody would have turned that actually into a real place like that, and it really rocked out like that today, it might be a fun place to go to on a date, to kind of break the ice with somebody and stuff. But so they're in a restaurant with the Hollywood characters and everything. Mia enters them into a twisted contest or whatever and stuff like that. Because she said, I want to win that trophy. And once again, her being the boss's wife, you cannot say no. You know what I'm saying? And she even says something to the fact that you have to do what I want to do. Like, so he couldn't even say he did say, I don't want to dance. She was like, no, we're dancing.
No for an answer.
Yeah. She enforced it like, no, we're going to dance. We're going to do the twist. And they end up eventually winning the trophy, which made her happy. But at one point in time, before their food came, she went to the bathroom. She took another bump.
Right.
This woman was all over the place. Do you think that Marcellus, if he would have known his wife was doing this much coke, do you think this is something that would be normal in their household, or is this something that he would put a stop to?
I think it's normal in their household. I think he knows who his wife is. He's too methodical not to. I think he knows who his wife is. He's so calculated in the entire film. So calm, cool, calculated. They don't show him rushing into anything. He's very he just strikes me as the type of man that knows who his wife is.
He wouldn't have missed that detail.
I don't think he would have missed that detail.
That his wife is a super cokehead.
Yeah, I don't think.
She's taking bumps all over the place. Because the
think
women in the bathroom, they're just working on their makeup. She's
right.
the only one that's
right,
snorting coke.
Right. Like it's nothing. Does it and comes
Amongst
out.
everybody. Yeah. She just
right in front of everybody.
in front of she
Right.
has no shame,
Yeah.
you know. But that's what I like about her character. Like
I do
she's gonna
too.
be whoever she is.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's one of those things where it's like, you know, whoever she is, people will just have to adjust to her.
Right.
You know, she's not gonna change who she is for you. So I always like people like that too. Just be who you are.
Yeah, I agree.
Stop worrying about what people think
agree.
of you. Because half the time, most of us are worried about what people think of us
Right.
who we don't even know.
Yeah.
You worried about people you don't even know. You put some up on the internet and Johnny Pants 172 says you're ugly and it hurts your feelings.
Right.
You don't even know who that dude is.
Everybody got opinions.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's like, stop worrying about what people think and just do you, as they say, do you. So yeah, she takes another bump. She takes another bump in there. They have a great night. They win the trophy. Yeah, they go back to Mia and Marcellus's house. He takes her back there and she puts on music. She starts dancing. She wants to have a good time. She don't want the night to end, which tells you she had fun, which also tells you that she might, like you said, be more intrigued with Vincent. She want to see what he really got. Let's see what else he got going on. Meanwhile, Vincent is in the bathroom going through it. He's in the mirror like, oh, man, I'm just going to have one drink with her.
Right.
And I'm getting the hell up out of here. I do not want this man showing up and I'm still here partying with his wife. So I understand Vincent's point of view too.
Yeah,
like,
same.
I want her to be happy and I
Right.
want my boss to be happy.
But I want to stay alive.
I don't want him to walk in and we're kissing
Right.
or doing something we're not supposed to be doing
Right.
because it's going to end up in death on my side. So I get his nervousness, but while he's doing that, she finds the bag of the good stuff that he got from Lance, the killer heroin. It was actually heroin. She sniffs it, which is not what you're supposed to do with heroin. And immediately you can tell she messed up. She made like a noise. She's like, ooh. I'm like, oh man, that does not look good. She did a weird noise and you could just tell like, yeah, immediately she should not have done that. And cool, shout out to the makeup people, but they had her really looking like she OD'd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
It's a great scene.
The way her eyes looked and the stuff coming out her mouth and the nose
everything,
bleeding.
Sweat out, all of it.
I said, whoever did that, they got real in depth with how a person who ODs looks, because I was convinced she was definitely ODing.
Right, right.
So when Vincent comes out of the bathroom, he immediately knows he's in trouble. Not really her, he's in trouble. You are supposed to protect and show her a good time, show Marcellus's wife a good time. You come outside, she's OD on your drugs, not her own. So he immediately panics, big time panics. And he calls Lance. Which guy he got the drugs from. He calls Lance and Lance is watching TV. Yeah, he's watching TV. And it's like 4 a.m. because I remember his girlfriend saying something about who's doing this at 4 something in the morning. So Lance doesn't answer the phone initially when he calls him. He lets it ring. Lance eventually answers the phone. He says, don't bring that girl over here. He kept calling her a bitch. Don't bring that, drug bitch over here and stuff. Vincent didn't care. Vincent's like, you need to give her an adrenaline shot. Now, I'm trying to figure out, how would Vincent know that he had an adrenaline shot there?
I don't specifically remember that part. I think it was like he called him and he was frantic, basically saying, you gave me these drugs. And now I got one of the most important humans in this moment right now dying on me, essentially. And we need to do something to fix it. I'm assuming because he knew his background, right? He was like, he had some background in the medical. The wife was, I think, a nurse, Trudy. And they had some, background in the medical field, right? So I think he essentially in his mind, he's thinking, let me take this person to the one place where I can go to get immediate assistance. You know what I'm saying? Because where else is he not going to be able to go to the hospital and do this, right? Everybody else is going to be aware of it, right? So I think that was kind of like a desperation. It was like, let me go here in desperation. And, the drug dealer's on the phone like, no, don't bring, no, whatever you do, don't bring her here. Don't bring her here, right?
And the wife was saying, do not bring her here.
Yeah.
They did not want no type of problems with that. But essentially, they give her the adrenaline shot in the heart. and she wakes right up.
Right.
And she snaps right out of it. And I kind of heard that's how it works too. Like you hit them in the heart with it and they kind of immediately wake up when it works. Sometimes it doesn't work and the person expires. But now we get to a scene like you were saying where Tarantino mixes up focus points of movies. So now we get to where we're showing Butch as a kid. It jumps right into a scene with Butch as a kid watching TV. His mother brings in a military guy who talks to him and says that I'm your father's buddy from the military. He tells him a war story about the grandfather having a watch, a timepiece, watch, whatever, and wanting in the war with I want to say Korea, giving it to Korean soldiers saying that I know I'm getting ready to die. Make sure my son gets it. So Butch is hearing a story about how the grandfather got a watch to his father, and then this watch is given to him. The weirdest thing, and if I ever met Quentin Tarantino, I would have to ask him, Quentin, why would you put in there in the story that
they put it up
their ass for 5 years?
5 years.
And then the other guy did it for 2 years. So it's been 2 people's butt for 7 years total, and you're giving it to a little kid.
I mean,
that was the weirdest story ever.
It was.
So I got to ask Quentin if I ever meet him, like, why would you put that in the story? Because he actually could have just left that part out of the story.
He could have left
the
that
butt
part
stuff
out.
could have been left out. But it was funny when I first saw it. Even when I saw it recently watching, I was like, that's just hilarious that they put it in their butt. But I mean, I guess you do what you got to do. But to give that watch to a kid, it's almost like, why would you even? He came to his house to tell him this story, give him this watch. But so, and Butch wakes up, and I'm assuming Butch was dreaming because he wakes up from that meeting with his father's army friend to wake up with a bell ringing because now he's in the back room of a boxing event and he's getting ready to go fight now. So that was kind of dope how Quentin did that too.
I agree.
He took him to the childhood. He woke up in reality, getting ready to fight. That was kind of dope. It played an important part because that watch meant a lot to him. And we found out later how much it
meant to him.
How much it actually meant to him.
Right.
You know, it was all fun and games when the military guy was telling the story, but in the end, that watch meant a lot to him. Like it meant he was willing to risk his life for that watch.
Absolutely.
And we all have those little trinkets that our grandmothers, grandfathers, people in our lineage might leave for us and stuff. So I get it. My father's left me a lot of stuff that I would never get rid of. So I kind of get it. And it was, it was actually kind of good that we saw Butch as a kid because they didn't really give us a lot of information about Butch. We understood that he had this thing going on with Marcellus about throwing the fight, but that's all we really understood until we got to them showing him as a kid and you seen his mom and, the whole watch story and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. It was done in the right way because it wasn't over explained. He didn't spend too much time on it.
No, he didn't.
A lot of directors will spend a lot of time developing a character, their backstory. And I think the sweet spot is just give people what they need to know. Don't, overdo it. You know what I'm saying? So I think he did it wonderful with Butch's character. The problem is Butch wakes up, he fights, he kills his opponent, does not take the dive, which is what he was paid to do by Marcellus Wallace, which automatically puts his life in jeopardy. You cannot do that. When you paid by, quote unquote, the mafia to throw a fight, you better throw the damn fight.
Right.
So, which lets you know that when Butch was sitting down initially with Marcellus, he knew he wasn't going to throw the fight.
He knew he wasn't.
He was literally lying right there in his face. Even when he repeated it to Marcellus, he was never going to throw the fight. But not only did he didn't throw the fight, he killed the opponent. Like that was crazy. It was crazy that he did that. So he kills his opponent. The next thing you see is a great scene with him throwing his bag out the window. Look like he's like 3 stories up. He throws the bag out the window on top of the taxi. He jumps out the window. He's in the taxi. And at this point, Marcellus is pissed.
Yeah. Oh,
he is pissed.
He's heated.
He is heated to the point where he say he don't care where in the world he's at. We're going to find him. You send whoever you got to find, no matter what part of the earth he's on, find him. So I'm assuming that Marcellus put a lot of money on that fight and lost
a lot
of money. A lot. And we found out later that Butch did the opposite. He laid some bets around town on himself.
Right.
And he made that outcome happen to benefit him.
Right.
That just shows you how clever Butch was in this whole thing. Like he seemed like the, quote unquote, dumb jock, dumb boxer. He had mapped it all out from the very beginning. Like, I'm going to take his money. I'm going to make him give me some money.
Right.
Then I'm going to do the opposite of what I need him to do. I mean, what I was supposed to do and make more money. So he actually ended up being, a pretty smart guy in the whole thing. So he gets in a cab. He goes, and I definitely want to ask you about this. He goes to the motel to his girlfriend. They spend a lot of time. They spent a good 11, 12 minutes. I timed it with them in the motel from when he got from the boxing match to when they left the motel. Why do you think Quentin spent so much time? He spent more time in that scene with those two in that motel than any other scene in the movie. What do you think he was trying to tell the viewers in showing that much screen time between those two people in that hotel room?
I think without that scene, you're looking at Butch as, sort of like, boxer slash, henchman, if you will, working underneath Marcellus in this situation, right? You could tell that although we don't see him doing like criminal activities, he's definitely not a straight-laced boxer. Like he's come from some grit.
He's in that world.
Yeah, he's in the world. He's he's in the scene with all the other men. He's not intimidated by it
at all.
He's ruffling some feathers while he's there. So it lets you know that there's been some, I think he and Vince had some previous issues, things of that nature.
Bar.
So I think that it kind of like humanizes Butch. I think the moment where he's in the hotel room with her and, they're talking about, pancake breakfasts and, things of that nature. And she's even at one point describing a scenario where she wants to like have a baby, I think it humanizes him because it's almost like he's a protector in this space. You see a different side of Butch in this space. He's not the fighter. He's showing her some affection, some attention, and kind of like, essentially, everything that he does in this moment, he's bringing her along for that ride also, right? So we see that this is somebody significant in his life because we would just leave these things behind if they weren't, right? So I think that it allows you to feel for Butch.
Okay.
I think that's what it gives to the audience. You get to humanize him and see him as being, more. And it's something that he did, if you really think about it. He did this in the beginning sequence. When he was in the restaurant and you could see the dialogue between Honey Bunny and her husband, you could see sort of this banter between them before, like kind of that the wild stuff was revealed, right? I think he does the same thing in the moment. He spends a lot of time with them in the beginning of the restaurant before they get to that space. And he spends additional time with Butch's character when he was with his significant other. So I think that's why that exists in the film. It gives us a window into another side of Butch that we don't otherwise see in the film.
So more or less like just humanize him and make him, okay, that makes sense. Because when I was watching, I'm like, damn, that's a lot of screen time for these two. You know what I'm saying?
You care about what happens to Butch in this movie, though.
Yeah,
we're invested in Butch in this movie. And I think one of the ways that filmmakers make that possible is by giving you something to hold on to where there's a vested interest where you want to see them get out. Because if we don't care about the character doesn't mean anything to us. We're not invested in them. It's just another movie, right?
That's true.
I think that's what it is. I think it serves that purpose. At least for me, that was my perspective looking at it.
No.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
To humanize them and to make you, quote unquote, fall in love with that character to where now you're invested in finding out whether they make it through the fire or not.
Right.
You're right. And as a screenwriter, you definitely want to keep the audience engaged in characters as long as possible.
Right.
All the way to the end of the movie and see it all the way through. So no, that makes sense. I'm glad you cleared that up. That was initially what went through my head. It made me go back in time and I'm like, damn, that's a lot of screen time with just those two in the hotel room. Like just those two, but it made sense. It made sense. It humanized him. It made you feel sorry for him. It made you love his girlfriend.
Made you love his girlfriend.
Yeah, she you had a feeling about her, but he's still in trouble. Now, Butch, I don't even know if I'd have went back I would have called the hotel and say, look, we got to meet somewhere else. I would be too scared to go back to the motel. I would probably have called my girlfriend there and said, meet me somewhere else, because Marcellus wasn't playing. Like, I would just be too scared that he knows he has too many connections in the streets, and, you know, he would find out where I live. But he pays the taxi driver, which is a lady. He pays her for the ride. And he also pays her extra to keep it quiet. Like, anybody asks about a guy like me, you don't know nothing about it. And then she just drives. She takes his money and drives off. He gets on the phone, and going back to his bets, he gets on the phone and he talks, I guess, his bookie. He asks his bookie, did you place the bets?
Right.
And it sounds like it's about 7 or 8 bets. And the bookie was like, all of them should come through. Shouldn't be no issue. So it's almost like he's wrapping up everything before he leaves, because he definitely is planning to leave.
He's definitely planning to leave town.
Yeah, but he needs that cash first. So he already got a little bit of cash from Marcellus, but then that extra cash is coming from what he did in the fight. And then I guess his plan is just to skirt with his lady and start a family and move on with their life. But what happens is, and this is big, the next morning he's looking for the watch. The watch isn't there. He goes ballistic on his girlfriend. Something that you wouldn't have thought after they didn't made love. They saw his lovey-dovey and stuff. And he just went all, he called her idiot or something like retarded. He called her retarded and stuff like that. He started throwing stuff and had her in the corner balled up. Like, I don't think she's ever saw that side of Butch. Do you think?
I don't think she saw that side of
She never saw that side of him. She knew he was a boxer. And he had some violence in him, but not towards her.
Right.
And this is the first time he lost. He totally lost it. And once again, it's because of how important that watch was.
Right.
It just wasn't a regular watch. And I don't even think she understood how important it was until he blew up like that. You know what I'm saying? Because he even said, I don't care what you would have done with everything else in this room. That watch, I told you what to do. I told you where to get it and to bring it. So he was really kind of, and even when he got in the car to go retrieve the watch.
I told you not to forget that watch.
He was still talking a little bit of mess about his girlfriend.
Right.
Like, how can she be that stupid and stuff like that? And so the watch meant a lot to him. It was his father's watch. And like he said, you know, a lot of people had to suffer and die to keep that watch, you know, in the family. So it really meant a lot to him. So he goes back home, which is the dumbest thing you can do when, you know, the mob is looking for you. But he wants that watch.
Right.
And just like a smart guy Marcellus would have, he had one of the henchmen, Vincent, waiting at his house for him. But Vincent, which I thought he was way smarter than this, but apparently he wasn't. He leaves the Uzi on the kitchen counter to go use the bathroom.
Right.
So when Butch comes in, clearly he just grabs the Uzi. Vince comes out. That's the end of Vince right there. That was always a weird scene to me, because I'm like, if you would have just took it in there with you, you'd still be alive. You left it on the counter. Like, if you expect him to come back home, don't leave the gun right there. Like, if that's what you're expecting, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, the dichotomy between their characters is really deep, though. It's really deep between Jules and his character. The differences there are very deep.
Yeah.
And Quentin does some things with those characters that you can see. It's more than even John Travolta's character being aloof. He's aloof through the entire film.
He is.
There's points where they point out going to the car. I think he's putting on his safety. Vince isn't. There's various different things that you see in the film where it's kind of like you can tell that Vincent is not really fully aware of some of the things that he should be aware of in his line of business. Correct. And there's sort of like this underlying aspect of the film that nobody really talks about. What it would be like if Jules' character wasn't there to support Vincent's character, because Jules is always sort of that sounding board that's paying attention to observing everything, looking at everything in the room, everyone in the room. He's the most talkative person in the room. He's the most methodical in the room. You see that everywhere, even in the restaurant, right? This is the one thing I want to point out about this scene that I notice a lot of people don't see. This is the one time you really see Vincent in the movie where Jules isn't there. Really think about that, where Jules is not there. And when he's with Uma and Jules isn't there, he does the same thing. a lot of his decisions when he's not working and he's just on his own and he's making certain choices and certain decisions, they're not great decisions.
He makes mistakes.
He makes a lot of mistakes, actually.
Right.
And we see that through the course of almost the entire film. So I'm not surprised that his character leaves this gun, in the kitchen while he's in the bathroom.
Normally Jews would have been like, what the hell are you doing?
Don't. Exactly. You gotta go take, pee while we're here to, it would be a whole conversation.
It would be a whole
conversation. You know what I'm saying? And that's something Jules would never do.
Ever.
Leave his weapon behind? Never.
Wouldn't
right?
happen.
But I think that's the clear juxtaposition between their characters that Quentin sort of like, he does it. It's not advert, like you don't notice it in everything, but I see little pieces of, different scenes of this film where you can see when Vincent's on his own and he's left like to his own devices, he's just very aloof and he's not aware of his surroundings and not aware of certain types of conversations. We can get deeper into that, but he even does it with Jimmy. If you really think about it, right?
Yeah.
He does it with Harvey, right?
Yep.
So there's this running theme with Vincent that we see in the movie that, like, again, a lot of people don't talk about this, but that's something that I definitely noticed between the two characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The more I think about that scene with Butch killing Vincent, I think he killed him over whatever happened in the past.
Absolutely.
And when that bar incident happened, they almost got into it. I think it came down to that. Because remember, they looked at each other for a couple of seconds.
Absolutely.
And it was almost without Butch saying it, it was almost like, remember that shit you was talking at the bar?
Yeah. It was like a showdown, but he didn't have a gun to fire back.
He didn't have a gun to fire back. But the look in his eyes was like, I could let you go.
But
remember
I'm
that
not.
Shit at the bar? Remember you was talking all that at the bar?
Definitely.
You're going to have to catch these. Because technically, he could have tied him up, knocked him out, tied him up. You got the gun. You could have done anything you want to. He killed Vincent. And that was personal. I feel like that was personal.
I feel like it was personal too.
Whatever they had in the past, it was serious. And whatever was supposed to happen at that bar scene, he cleared it up right there.
No, I agree with that.
He cleared it up right there.
There was definitely animosity between those two characters for sure.
And that pause before he shot him lets you know it was some animosity. I could let you leave or live. We're going to just get rid of you right now because you a thorn in my side at this point. So he essentially kills Vincent. He gets back in his car. His little, look like he had a Pinto or something like that. It was something very small. But now he retrieved his watch, which is important. He did get his watch back. So all this, it wasn't for nothing. He got his watch back. He kills Vincent. He gets back in his car. And as big as LA is, as huge as the city of LA is, he drives down the street and runs into Marcellus, walking with donuts or something in his hand, crossing the street. I was like, only Quentin would draw up this scenario. This would never happen in real life.
Put him right at the crossroads.
Right there.
Yeah.
Marcellus, look.
Yeah.
And look, Butch ain't no joke. He ran him over. He didn't go around.
Right.
He didn't back up. We're going to end this problem right here. He ran more. I'm laughing, but I'm just like, in Butch's mind, he like, I can tie up all loose ends with this run over right here. So he tries to run. But Marcellus is a big dude.
Big dude. Yeah.
He can take it.
Yep.
He rolled over the top of the car, fell down, and he kind of took it.
Yep.
But I know in Butch's mind, he was trying to kill him. He wasn't trying to just get him out of the way. He was trying to kill him because he was trying to get back to the motel to go get his girlfriend so he can kind of get out of town. So I know that was the end result. But I feel like the real boss would have been like, okay, you're going to take a dive in the 5th round. But until that happens, your girlfriend is going to be sitting right here with me. Like, I feel like it wouldn't have been that easy in real life for Butch to just not do what Marcellus told him and just leave town. I feel like Marcellus would have been smart enough to be like, just in case, your girl's staying with us, or we got somebody at the motel watching her until you throw this fight. He gave Butch a lot of freedom to do what he wanted to do.
Around.
Yeah, to move around.
I mean, I think there's sort of like this mystery of Marcellus Wallace being like this ruthless man that like takes no shit from anybody, right? And you see that through other. It's not so much him barking in the film, but you see that through everybody's description of who Marcellus Wallace is in the movie. So I think Butch puts his girlfriend in a hotel. They're not at his apartment. They're not at his house because I think he's already securing, like you said, his future plans to move away. And I don't think he's just securing a little bag. I think he's securing a bag where he doesn't have to ever worry about being in this situation ever again, which is why he plays both sides. The losing end when it comes to the fight, even though he's agreeing to it, he doesn't do it. And he's also placing bets outside of that. I think he's doubling down. He's like, I'm never coming back to this place, right? But he puts his girlfriend up in this hotel sort of like as a, in a motel as a stowaway almost. I'm going to come back and grab her when we're almost on our way out of town. So I don't know if it's intentional that Marcellus thinks that when he sends his two main goons to go get Butch, that they're going to come up empty-handed, because we see them in the film and they never come up empty-handed.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. They're pretty solid.
They're pretty solid when it comes, when it comes to, to tracking down whatever it is they're looking for. It just so happens that this one time we've only got Vincent at the location when Butch shows up. Correct. Right. Yeah. So I don't know, but that's to your point. That's a great question. Would you allow so much wiggle room? I think, he's thinking in his mind, Butch agreed to throw this fight. There's money on this fight. He knows I'm going to kill him if he doesn't throw this fight. So maybe, in his mind, he's like, if he doesn't follow this, we know who to send to find him. But they fail. Interesting enough, which is also something else interesting about both of their characters, because Butch is a fighter and Marcellus is a fighter. Yes. So it's an interesting sort of space that you see them in. They're unlike any other characters in the film, actually.
Yes, that's true. So in the end, when he runs him over, and Marcellus gets woken up by the crowd of people around him, and Butch's character is across the street, leaking. I mean, he's leaking. I don't know what head in the steering. I don't know what happened. He's leaking, and even through all the pain and getting flipped over a car, Marcellus is like, "Where he at?"
Exactly, and willing to get to him no matter what.
Like, he's right over there, and he instantly pulls out his gun and it starts. But he's kind of wobbly, because he just got ran over by a car. And Butch is kind of wobbly because he just had a head-on accident running over Marcellus. Right. So it becomes a shootout. And they have a small shootout where he's chasing them. And Butch runs into, I don't know what to call this place. It's like a racist television fixer shop. It was like a racist. It was extremely racist. Man,
extremely.
I don't even know what to call it. Like racist hell shop. I don't know what it was. But as soon as you open the door, it's like a flag, Confederate flags and all this other stuff. And so Butch goes up in there. The guy's like, what are you doing? Can I help you? Blah, blah, blah. He, shut up. Of course, Marcellus follows him in there. They're fighting on the floor. And I want to say the shop owner calls Marcellus a nigger.
Maybe.
I think he did. I think he called him a nigger. He did when he was on the phone telling his friend about who he was.
Yeah.
That he did call him. He's like, I got one white boy, blah, blah, and a nigger, or something like that. So I'm like, okay, he going hard with the hard
R. Right.
With the hard R. And at that moment, Butch was getting ready to kill Marcellus. He was like, say goodbye. He put his hand over the gun.
Yep.
And it was getting ready to be over.
Ready to do him in right there.
It was going to be over until the racist guy pulled out the shotgun and was like, not here.
In my shop.
Yeah, it's not happening right here. And I remember when I first saw this, I had no idea where this was going to go at that point.
Nobody did.
And it was just like, where it went? Oh my God.
That's Tarantino.
Tarantino. Why did you take it there?
Coldest scene in the whole movie.
So, it's a cold scene. So he calls the racist guy. I don't even know what his name was, but just call him the racist guy.
One of them was Zed.
Was it Zed? Which one was Zed?
Zed was the one that had the motorcycle. And I forget the name of the guy that was on the phone. I forget. Zed's the police officer that shows up.
So the police officer comes over. The shop owner calls over to his police officer friend. Yeah. And then they say, we need the Gimp. I think they call him the Gimp.
Yeah, he's called the Gimp.
Yeah. And the Gimp is like a man, animal, leather covered thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to call
The
it.
gimp in the basement.
He opened up a basement floor and something came out that resembled a human totally covered in leather, which is
covered in leather.
Weird as it is.
Mm-hmm. Tied up.
Yeah. The gimp, they treated the gimp almost like a dog because he put him in a chain and kind of hooked him up. Because initially I thought the gimp was going to be the one that was going to be doing the violating.
Oh.
But he wasn't. He was like, no, that's you. Look how he was dressed.
That's an interesting take.
Like, why wouldn't he?
Oh.
But the gimp actually was like just a guard dog. He's like, I'm going to chain you up like a dog and you watch him, which is Butch's character. Mm-hmm. And they said, we're going to take Marcellus over here and do what we going to do with him. Now, once again, I had no idea they was going to go where that went. And Quentin did not hold back.
You didn't see it coming?
Not like
the gimp was the submissive. You didn't see it. I didn't see it coming when they were upstairs.
Okay.
When they revealed the gimp, I knew something was going to be off. I didn't know where the film was. Nobody knew where the film was going to go. Nobody. I don't think anybody guessed that. But I knew he was a submissive. I knew he was a submissive because he had a chain on his he had the I believe he was tied up at the top.
He
had a chain on his neck, right? And so although he was in a space where he could move around, he was also chained up. So and he was chained up in a basement on top of that. So that let me know that he was already in a submissive space.
Voluntarily?
Voluntarily.
Really?
Definitely.
That's interesting. I never saw it.
Yeah, I mean.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I mean.
So you knew after seeing that what they were going to do with Marcellus's character.
I felt like I didn't know that it was going to turn out the way that it did, but I knew that there was about to be something a little kinky involved because we're looking at a submissive. My only question was, could it have been somebody that they took and held there and kept there and kind of made that person into the person that we saw? But I definitely, because he's chained up.
He's chained
up and we see what happens after that, right? Mm-hmm. But I know that he's in a submissive position because he's not free to roam as he chooses. That lets me know he's in a submissive position.
But you also said it's voluntary submission.
I think it's voluntary because he says, watch over him. And he's like, he kind of rises, even though he's chained up, he kind of comes up and it's like, I got authority over you, but I don't have authority over them.
Got you.
That makes me feel like he was a submissive. Yeah.
It was that type of vibe. Yeah. You're right. So, you're right. So Butch's character is tied up in a chair with the gimp watching over him.
Yep.
Marcellus's characters with the two racist guys, the cop and the other guy, and you hearing all this stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And it's just horrible sounds. So to just say that. There's a lot of sounds going on in the other room to where even Butch's character was like, oh, hell no, I got to get up out of here because I kind of know what's going on in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the gimp was looking at him kind of like laughing or smiling like, you're next. Mm-hmm. So you're next. But to his testament, Butch is a fighter.
Yeah.
Butch is like, I'm not going out like that.
He's not going out like that. Definitely not.
You're going to have to kill me, but I'm not going to wait for them to come in here and get me. So he fought through it and got loose and knocks out the gimp.
Yeah.
Totally knocks him out. Going back to what you were saying about the hotel room scene, you got to humanize him and find out that he was more than just a boxer because we see that in this final act where he could have left Marcellus.
Absolutely.
He was at the front door. He could have just walked out and lived his life.
And in the film, he thinks about it.
And he thinks
about it. And he pauses.
And I love the fact that he paused. He was like, I'm not. I already did the dude dirty. I took the man money.
Yeah.
I did him dirty already. I just ran him over.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let him go out like that. Like, it was almost like a man-to-man respect. As a man, I can't let him go out like that. Marcellus is a stand-up dude. He got a wife. No, he a solid dude. He a real brother.
Right.
I'm not going to let them continue because they was already violating him. So
they were, but late. I don't think Butch thought that.
You don't think so?
I don't. I think that Butch heard the grunts and the noise from the room. Mm-hmm. But if you really think about the sound, it almost sounds like they're beating him or killing him.
Oh, you think you think he thought he was getting beat?
I think I think he's thinking in his mind, like, if I leave him here, they're going to kill him.
Oh, they're definitely going to kill him.
But he was there. He was going to kill him initially before they intervened, right? So I think in his mind, it's like, he's the enemy, but they're the greater enemy, right? Because him and Marcellus got some history
They have history
together. These are some strangers that essentially would have killed him too.
Yes.
In the event that they would have had the opportunity. So when he breaks down in that room, in all honesty, I don't think that he knows that that's the violation that's occurring. I think he hears the sounds. He's like, what the heck's going on in there? And he goes to leave and he's like, nah, wait a minute. And I think he's busting in to save them. I just don't necessarily think he knows what he's going to be saving them.
Maybe that's why he pushed the doors
just
slowly.
Slowly, yeah.
You know, because he didn't know what was going on
there. That's what I'm thinking.
You might be right.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's why he just gently went in there after he grabs the sword. He grabbed the sword and he went in there. And that was a scene I had never expected to see. I was like, I never expected to see that, to see Marcellus getting violated like that by those two guys. But
it's cold.
But it was cold. But to Butch's credit, he just wasn't gonna let him go out like that. No matter what our past was. Dude, I'm not letting them keep doing you like that. Because first of all, they're gonna kill you when they get done.
Yep.
They're not gonna let you go.
Absolutely.
You're a black man from LA. Mm-hmm. You're gonna come back and try to kill them. Mm-hmm. They're definitely gonna end your life after this act of sexual whatever.
Right.
So, and I think in his mind, he processed that and was like, outweighing the good and the bad. I have made money with this man. We do have a history, like you said.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and save you. And maybe he'll give me some grace.
Right. Which he did. Yeah.
Which he did.
Right.
So it turned out to be a good thing.
Right.
So Butch slices the first man. The first man is sitting there licking his chops, just waiting for his turn.
Waiting for his turn.
Weird, and he had the close up on his face.
Close up on his face.
Is sweating. He's like,
I'm like, I'm next.
God, this is weird.
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
It's hard for a black man. To me to just watch it, I'm just like,
brutal.
oh my God. I can't imagine going through this.
Yeah.
So Butch slices him, kills him. The cop gun is right next to him, clearly like 2 feet away, maybe less. And he's like, go ahead and reach for it. Go ahead and reach for it. The cop is scared to reach for it. But while this is going on, Marcellus has picked up a shotgun. And he says, move out the way, Butch. I got it from here. And he didn't hesitate to shoot him
immediately.
But he
didn't shoot to kill him.
He didn't shoot to kill him. That's important.
He did not shoot to kill him.
That's very important. Like, no, we gonna do some things with you way worse than what you did to me. Yeah. Way worse. So he shoots a guy with a shotgun in the region where it's gonna hurt.
Right.
So the guy's down there crying now. Now he crying because he hurt. He bleeding out. And Butch says, so we good?
Yeah.
And he like,
good.
But here's a stipulation.
Yeah.
You can't ever talk about this. And you have to leave LA and you can never come back. Which to Butch, he was like, I was going to do that anyway.
Exactly.
I was never going to come back. So it didn't bother Butch at all. Butch is like, all right. So even Marcellus did one of these, like, all right, good, nice knowing you. Yeah. Thank you for saving me. Thank you.
Never gonna see you again.
But we ain't never gonna see each other again. But I do appreciate
you
came back when you didn't have to.
Yeah.
That was a dope shot too. Like when he pushed open the door.
I love that shot.
And he was like, the homie came back for me.
Yeah, I love
it was a great shot. Like,
it's a great shot.
He came back for me.
Yeah.
That was kind of dope that it was a quick 1 second look. But Marcellus couldn't believe, and he was pleasantly surprised. Like, oh shit, he came back for me. So great. Like I said, great directing, great writing on Quentin Tarantino's part.
Absolutely.
So Marcellus basically says, I'm going to get some guys from the hood, and we're going to get medieval on your ass. So who knows what type of torture they're going to do to that cop that's left. But he said he's going to live out the rest of his miserable life in intense pain or something like that. Like he going to go through it. And then we're going to kill him. Like, we're going to put him through hell, and then we're going to get rid of him. So Butch leaves. He goes to pick up his girlfriend, right, on the bike. And this was the only time when he went to go pick up his girlfriend that she kind of know him because she kept asking him questions. Whose bike is it? Where are we going?
Right.
The whole time, Butch is like, just get on the bike.
Yeah.
He like, baby, get on the bike. He starts yelling at her. She starts crying. He's like, I'm sorry.
Because she's the reason he went through this whole process. Little does she know, right?
Little does she know.
Man.
But she's crying or whimpering. He's like, babe, I'm sorry. Just please get on the bike. We have to go. We have to go. She gets on a bike. And they go. this is what I want to ask you. Do you think from what you've seen of their relationship, that relationship, that it lasts a lifetime? Yeah. Is that love that strong between those two from what you saw?
I think it would be for what Butch needs. Because I think you see Butch as an isolated character that doesn't really have a whole lot of people in his life. So, having somebody like her that he doesn't see as a threat, that that's a lot more soft and, more meek. I think that he could see himself as a protector in that situation.
So the opposite of what he is kind of his comfort is that she's the opposite.
The opposite of him.
She's soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she loves him. It's clear. She loves him. You can see. I thought the dialogue that they had in the hotel was hilarious because when she says, I want to have this like baby bump, he says, I'd punch you in it.
Yeah.
Like,
he did say that.
So,
playfully, but he did say
that, right? So I'm just like,
he did
I don't know about the picket white fence and all that, but I definitely think that, I could see them riding off in the sunset to some extent.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Quentin Tarantino style, it goes back in time to where Vincent and Jules is back in the apartment with the guys. Some guy comes running out the damn bathroom with a gun, blazing. He misses both of them. I don't know how he did. Shot like 5 times. The bullet holes everywhere. Literally behind Jules' character, which makes Jules pause.
Yes.
Like, this has got to be some God-given type of thing that's going on here because we should be dead. This dude had us point blank range and he didn't hit us at all. So he has some type of spiritual awakening over that. And Vincent is laughing about it. Like, he's not taking it serious. And Jules trying to tell him, no, man, you got to understand, we're not supposed to be here after what this dude just did. And once again, Vincent's making jokes. He not really tripping. But then he yells at Marvin's character because he says, you didn't feel like telling us that it was a guy
in the bathroom?
You supposed to be working with us. It's a guy in the bathroom with a gun. So Marvin is like, I don't know. So they leave the scene and they take Marvin. They take Marvin with them. Samuel Jackson said, come on, man, let's go. So while in the car with Marvin, they're just having a normal conversation about what's going on. And Vincent leans back to ask Marvin something and shoots him in the face. Head explosion everywhere. It's typical Tarantino style.
Absolutely. Gore. Yep.
Everything's everywhere. In the car. Everything's everywhere, to even the point to where Jules is like, dude, what is you doing? You just shot Marvin in the face. Like, what? And it was an accident.
It was
you
an
can
accident.
see from Vince's reaction, like, he didn't mean to do it. But he turned around and pointed the gun right at the man, though, while he was talking to him. But Jules is more worried about, now we got to clean the car.
Right.
We gotta figure all this stuff out.
It's an inconvenience.
It's an inconvenience because we're supposed to be done.
Yeah.
We're done with the job. And you just, you create another problem. So Jules gets on the phone with Marcellus, and this is where the pool scene where Marcellus is with his wife, Mia. And this is the only other scene where they're together.
Where they're together.
The only other scene.
Right.
Basically, Marcellus tells him he's going to call Wolf. And Wolf is Harvey Keitel. Right. And I guess Harvey Keitel, I guess they would call him in the mafia the cleaner.
Yeah.
He comes to make sure everything gets cleaned up, neat, and you do everything in a professional manner. Because clearly these two guys are not too professional. They just popping people in the head and back of cars. There's a level of non-professionalism that they've showed. Like, you let a guy come out. First of all, you didn't check the bathroom, so that's kind of on you.
Didn't scope out the place. You
didn't scope out the place. It's kind of not professional. So Marcellus calls Wolf. Wolf kind of wants to know what's going on. So he's on the phone saying, like, what type of wife is she? When is she coming home? So they figure out they got about 40 minutes before they come home. And this is where we get introduced to Jimmy.
Yeah.
Who's Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
It's the first time we see Quentin. And Quentin's always...
He loves cameos in his movies.
He loves cameos. And we love seeing him in his movies. So it was kind of dope. He's more concerned with his wife coming home.
Right.
And I'm like, that's typical marriage. It's like, we can take bears fighting us. We can fight dogs. We just don't want to get into it with our wives.
Right.
He's like, man, you guys just got to clean this up for my wife.
Understandably. Yeah.
And I got that scene totally because I'm just like, I can take on the world. I feel like I'm Superman every day I walk on this planet. I just don't want to piss my wife
Right.
off. That's where it really comes down to.
I get it.
So I got Jimmy's point of view. Like, dude,
yeah,
I get it. You guys are in a mess. You brought the mess to my house, but this needs to get done before my wife comes home. Because he said something to the fact she's gonna divorce me. Like, it's gonna be a problem if she comes home and it's mafia things are going on. So Wolf comes in. He immediately assesses the scene. He wants towels and blankets and stuff like that. But going back to Jimmy was saying some hard N-words with the ER at the end.
Right. He was.
He went in hard a few times. And he was talking directly to Jules. He was like, did I tell you, this is a place where you bring niggers? Did I tell you to bring? He said it about 7 times. So I can kind of see where somebody like a Spike Lee or a Tyler Perry would say, okay, now, you're the director. You're in this scene and you're the one saying it now. Like, it's a difference when you're writing for other characters. You saying it now. And I can kind of see where it might have pissed off other people in the entertainment industry. But in the end, it's just entertainment. Like, people kind of take stuff too serious sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Jimmy's character basically wanted them to get it cleaned up before the wife comes home. So Wolf devises a plan. You go clean this. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to set it. He was setting everything. He was lining it all up. So in the end, Jules and Vincent were arguing about what had happened to where Jules said, I ain't even the one who shot him. You need to bring your ass back here and clean all
up,
these brains and stuff
out
up.
the car.
So they switch.
Right.
He's like, matter of fact, we're switching right now. So they switch and they clean it up. Everything's good. It's to Wolf's approval.
Right.
He comes and checks the car and stuff like that. He take them outside, have them stripped butt naked, holds them down like prisoners in jail. And that's how they end up with the dorky clothes.
Right.
To where even Jimmy said, they look like 2 dorks. And Jules like, these your clothes, dude.
Yeah. I think that's
what you trying to say.
I want to say that's Quentin's college on his shirt.
Yeah,
right?
Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz. Yep,
yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah.
So they had the Santa Cruz stuff on, but it just didn't fit their characters.
Did you see the other shirt?
Yes.
All right. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the other shirt. Yeah, it was an interesting kind of.
It's interesting. And Quentin is an interesting person.
Yep.
But they put on his clothes and they do look dorky. They got on short shorts
right.
and the shirts on. So they go from there to a crash yard compound or something where they crush cars. And a young lady comes out. I guess she's running her family's company and they get the car taken care of. Everything's taken care of. Wolf says, can I offer you a ride? When they say where they were going, he's like, well, you know what? I see a future of a taxi cab. He's like, I'm not
going out of my way. Right. Yeah.
You going to Inglewood.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing all that.
Right.
So I see a future of a taxi ride in your future.
Right.
That was kind of funny. So him and the girl get it in the car and I think they were going to breakfast or something.
Yeah, they
like
were.
that.
They were going out.
They going out. They just chilling. He's like, I got my girl. I'm not going to Inglewood. So, and that's how they end up in the cafe, going back to the beginning of the story with Ringo and Yolanda. And now we're going back to the robbery scene. It goes back to the robbery, but now you see the other 2 characters. Well, initially you see Jules. Vincent comes out later, but Jules is sitting there having coffee, whatever and stuff. Well, no, they're both there. And then Vincent goes to the bathroom or something like that. Yeah, he goes to the bathroom. He said, I got to take a piss. He goes to the bathroom. Jules is sitting there. They rob the place. Jules is very calm. Very calm. He's from the street. He know how the game go. But he's almost like, he's not flinching. It doesn't even worry him that these 2 loose cannons are running around with guns and waving guns and stuff like that. So, and he's so smooth when he takes his wallet out and he almost waves it at him like, here you go. Like, I feel like he was luring him over there. Because the way he brought it out was just like, he could have just took his wallet out and just left it right here on his hip. He was like, come here. You know what I'm saying? And true to fashion, Ringo comes over with the bag. And then Ringo sees the suit, going back to the suitcase. Sees the suitcase. He sees Jules' character like put his arm around it, telling you something in it.
Yeah.
You're not
getting
getting
this one. Yeah.
But that intrigues him a little bit more. And he's like, what's in the suitcase? And he's like, my boss is for my boss. It's his clothes or something like that. It's wash day. I'm washing his clothes or something like that. So he tells him, open it up. So they get into this thing where you're like, you don't open it up in 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to kill you. They do open it up.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, the glow. Jules get the upper hand on him, pulls his gun on him. Yolanda comes over. Yolanda is erratic. She just going haywire, which tells you how much she loved Ringo.
Right.
Seeing that gun to his head, she just lost
it completely. Yep.
Like, she lost everything that she was trying to do. And Ringo's telling her, calm down, baby, calm down, blah, blah, blah. And because Jules is going through the spiritual awakening, he lets him sit down. He says, sit right there. Takes $1,500 out of his own pocket, gives it to him, and says, and you can keep the customer stuff too. So they left with everything in the bag and $1,500.
Right.
And Vincent was pissed off about that. Vincent was pissed. He was like, I'll shoot him myself if you give him $1,500. But he wasn't understanding that, you know, Jules, something happened to Jules spiritually to where he was like, I can't do this no more. Because the conversation they were having at the cafe before Vincent went to the bathroom, he was like, I'm done. I'm going to tell Marcellus, that's it. I'm done.
Right.
I'm gonna walk the earth.
Right. Right.
Like David Carradine.
Right.
He said, I'm gonna walk the earth like David Carradine in Kung Fu, and whatever happens, happens, but I'm done because we should have been killed in that scenario. And, you know, God intervened, the bullets or whatever and stuff. And Vince, once again, was just laughing it off. But because of his spiritual awakening, he said, I'm going to allow you guys to live and lead. I don't want to kill you.
Right. So
he let them make a choice to leave. And that's pretty much where it ends. The guys, and then Vincent says, I think it's time for us to go. Like, we're sitting there with guns. And so they get up, they put their guns in the waist, and then it ends right there. But it was a great script. I love the movie. I love the way they tied in the beginning to the end and everything in the middle and fleshed out a lot of the characters that mattered, like Butch character.
Yeah.
The way they fleshed him out, it ended up mattering in the end.
I definitely think so.
You know what I'm saying? It really did. Now, I do have a nitpick. I wish we could have gotten more backstory on Jules and Vince to find out how they hooked up with Marcellus, how long, because clearly they got a relationship the way he talked to him. Because he said, my nigga, come over here. So clearly they got a real good relationship. So I would like to know whether it's been 10 years they've been working for him. Did he get him out of high school working for him? But like, what's the relationship? How deep is the relationship? And if they had been working for Marcellus for that long to where they had that type of relationship, why hadn't Vince ever known nothing about Mia? So that's kind of that's why I said that's my nitpick. Like, I felt like Vince would have already, because Jules knew about Mia.
Yeah,
but Vince didn't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's the afterthought in every part of the film in this movie, in my opinion. I think like there's a deeper relationship between Jules and Marcellus. And I feel like Vince is probably like, you know, sort of the henchman that's been added to this equation that, you know, not everybody likes, you know, not everybody gets along with. You see the dynamic with the bartender. You see the dynamic with Butch. But I also back to the closing scene. I also think they do something, which technically is the opening scene. I think they do something really powerful with that, which is that when Samuel Jackson's character has this spiritual awakening in the apartment, when he realizes, you know, he's not killed by all these bullets and kind of starts to wrestle with that idea as they're moving through the story. By the time they get to the space where they reveal what's happened to him at the restaurant, or go back and look at what was happening at the restaurant, he's saying throughout the movie that he has this verse. He has this verse that he normally says to people before he kills them, right? So that tells you that this is Ezekiel 25:17, I believe. And he says that he uses this verse and he always says this. And every time he says this, the man at the other end of it dies. He says this, right? Yes. But in this moment, that doesn't happen. I think it sets the course of him leaving, like you said, leaving the game altogether. He's out. He's done. I think that represents not only the fact that he feels that God and faith saved his life in that moment, but I also think he feels underneath it all that if he stays, he might die, which nobody ever talks about. And we see that pan out with Vincent, who ultimately at the end, that is technically the end of the film,
you're right,
dies.
He dies.
I think that's
a
big.
good point.
I think it's a major point of the film.
He knows that he could end up losing his life playing this game, you know, of henchmen too. No, that's a good point. That is a good point. Wow. Yeah, I never saw it like that. But no, whatever he saw in that apartment after he didn't get hit by those bullets, it definitely changed everything for him. It definitely changed everything for him. And I'm glad they wrote it in that way, where it was more of a spiritual awakening as opposed to a laugh all the time where they just laugh something off. I'm glad they made it a serious moment for at least one of the characters. It was a serious moment. Like, we need to pay attention to this, man. We should not be here after this.
Right.
The accolades from Pulp Fiction. It won at Cannes in France.
Yeah.
It won. That's major.
Yeah, it's major.
That's major. Like that's one of my dreams. Like win at Cannes. But I want to say it's a Weinstein film.
Yeah.
Is it a Weinstein?
I believe it was a Miramax.
Yeah, it's Weinstein. Yeah.
Right.
So I remember seeing video of this showing at Cannes and all the stuff that was going on. I guess Harvey Weinstein was balling like that. The whole cast was flown to France. And I mean everybody.
Right.
Even the two dudes that was violating him in the back. Everybody was in Cannes. So I guess when you know that a movie's gonna do numbers like that, I guess that's kind of how I mean, you might be able to speak to it. Is that how the PR works, to where if they know it's gonna be a big blockbuster, everybody has to come along for the ride in festivals and stuff like that?
Technically, yeah. I mean, I think for the most part, if you're dealing with a film that's got a larger budget, or you see the film's going to be a really successful film, it's doing well, it's getting buzz. It's ordinary, actually, that most of the cast joins all premiere carpet events. Usually the core cast, we typically go to majority of the screenings, premieres, things of that nature, just in general. But when you're getting into, larger film festivals or larger premieres, it's usually the case that you see majority of the cast go there. I mean, we do that even at, smaller budgeted films. So when you're in a space where you're, doing something for Miramax, it's definitely going to put you in a space where the cast is going to go there to essentially represent the film. And then also, if you look at it from the actor standpoint, it's an opportunity for everyone to attend. So not only are you going to promote the movie that is actually being screened at the festival, you're also going because it enhances your individual career, because there's so many other people that are going to be in the room that you're going to have a chance to talk to, that, may end up having future projects for you that you can do collaborations with and things of that nature. So it fully supports the project and the filmmakers, but it also gives the performer an opportunity to be in rooms that they otherwise may not have been able to be in, or at least with that amount of people. Because this is that's a huge festival. We know that people are traveling to this festival to acquire films. And most of the films, almost all of the films that come out of the festival is going to be a box office hit. That's pretty much been proven.
You don't even get in Cannes unless
unless it's an incredible film. It has that level of prestige, right? So, I mean, it's going to be to the performer's benefit to attend no matter what, just because that's an opportunity for you to showcase your talent, but it's also an opportunity to work those spaces as well and meet different people and make relationships and network and things like that. So no, it's not surprising to me when you see cast show up for those moments. A lot of times we're paid to make appearances like that. Other times, even if they're not, they're still going to do it just because it typically benefits the film and benefits their career.
That's my next question. Is it a paid thing, or is it on your own dime to go to Cannes for stuff like that? What you think?
I don't know what other levels. I have friends that have actually had their films make it into Cannes, and most of them have attended. I think in some cases people do find their own way there. They attend the festival because they think it's in their benefit. Do I also think that there could be possible, production budgets that might be allotted to assist in those spaces? Yeah, I'm sure those things happen behind the scenes. I don't know that comes directly from the festival itself, but I'm pretty sure that if the production team wanted to put that as part of a promo budget or a marketing budget, it's possible to do that, right? Because it's advantageous for you if you have press that all of your cast is there. They can answer questions about the film. It appears to be more supportive. So it's to the filmmaker's benefit that happens the same way it is to the performers. Yeah.
It also won Best Original Screenplay at the Academy Awards, which is huge. That's huge. And it got 7 nominations at the Oscars. It became what people thought it would become. It did. It became a monster. It revived John Travolta. Nobody was really talking about him until Pulp Fiction came out. He was always Rocky. I mean, not Rocky, but Saturday Night Fever. He was always that guy. But after this particular movie, he ended up doing a ton of movies after this. So it kind of shot him through the roof. And even Uma Thurman, she ended up doing a lot of projects after this. And I'm a film guy, but I'm not gonna front. I did not know nothing about Uma Thurman until Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, I did not know. So I'm not gonna lie and say, oh yeah, I was always. Nope, I did not know about her until Pulp Fiction. And then after that, I paid attention to her. By paying attention to her, I also found out that her career kind of went. She did a lot more projects after this. Now, I don't think none of them was as big as her Tarantino movies. Her Tarantino movies is like major, especially the Kill Bill series and stuff like that. But she did go on to do a lot of projects. And we all know about Samuel Jackson. He never stopped working. So,
right.
Samuel Jackson just never stops working. So Pulp Fiction had nothing to do with Samuel's career because he was going to keep working regardless. But to get to John Travolta, like he became like a pop icon. Like a lot of my friends who aren't movie buffs like myself, they never, other than Saturday Night Fever, they never knew nothing about John Travolta. But after Pulp Fiction, he became such a pop icon that after that, they followed everything he did after that.
That's an interesting take. I mean, I'm definitely a cinephile. So I love cinema. Like I watch cinema like religiously. Like I love cinema. I know him from Grease. I think if you're a fan of cinema, if you're a fan of film, Uma does different types of film. And John Travolta definitely before this film, he was doing different types of films. But I definitely feel like they were very, very solid film actors. I definitely think that the people that have been watching them, even beyond Saturday, what is it?
Fever. Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
Great movie.
It was a great movie. I think even, going to Greece, and he's done some phenomenal performances, and Uma's given some phenomenal performances in a ton of movies. She's still acting in a ton of movies currently, typically in dramas and things of that nature. And she's an incredible performer. So I think it depends on the kinds of film that you like.
Okay.
Or the kinds of films that you're used to watching. They're the type of films that you would see Uma and John Travolta in are going to be a little bit different from some of the films that you'd see Sam working in. And I think that's where the difference is, the audience, right? But they all have their individual audiences. I think they're all superstars, and that's, essentially why they're still working today. But I mean, I think Samuel Jackson was a really iconic character in the film just because Jules is
he was
equally menacing and comical, and his responses are hilarious, and his look is something that's just, who could forget it, right? I mean, John Travolta has the sideburns, who's got the bang and the bob, but his afro, wig and it's an iconic character that you will never forget. And I think that's why he stands out in this film. And we remember that character specifically, Samuel Jackson is just Sam. We remember that. And I think that was really powerful about this film. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the rating. Scale from 1 to 10. Seven being good, 8 being great, 9 being excellent, and a 10 being perfect, no flaws. What would you rate it?
I gotta give Pulp Fiction a 10, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was perfectly executed.
Okay.
Could it have been done in other ways? Yes. But I think it was perfectly executed because it's a film that's sort of one of its kind. And Tarantino's great at making films like that. So.
Yeah. It seems like all his films are a one shot.
I mean, who else is gonna make a film like that, right? With those nuances, right?
I agree.
That for me is what makes it a 10. It's something, you watch Pulp Fiction, you see things in that film that you're never typically going to see. You see performers being put together in a genre of film that you probably would, come on, Uma,
they would never be together
Sam
again.
And Travolta and Bruce Willis. Where would you see a combination of these actors being Rames? Where would you see a combination of these actors in a film?
Only a Tarantino movie.
Only in a Tarantino movie.
Only.
So I think it deserves a 10 because of its creativity. It's kind of a space between drama and comedy. It's got great performers in it.
Oh, yeah.
Arquette is, it's got everything you could think of, I think, in a film. And so that's why I think it earns a 10 in my book. And I've probably watched the film, I want to say 50, 60 times. Ooh. And here's the thing about it. I still spot things in the movie, still to this day. So for example, there's a scene when they're doing the adrenaline shot. Okay. And if you pay attention, I don't know if you caught this, a lot of people didn't catch this. there's the game of life and the game of operations in the back of the scene when they're going across looking for the adrenaline shot. So when he's running around and he's like, where's my medical book? Where's my medical bag? In the back of the scene on the table, there's literally the game of life and the game of operations right there in the scene, right? That a lot of people don't pay attention to. He does little things like that in his film. He has that in a lot of his films, even with anime and incorporating different things. And I feel like he's such a creative filmmaker.
Yeah.
And there's so many nuances in his films that you just don't see in other films. So yeah,
he's dope. He's dope.
It's my top
I would definitely also give it a 10 because like I said, what it meant to me at the time, at the time I was 22. Yeah, 22, 21, 22. And it just opened my eyes to how creative you could be making films. I just never knew that it didn't have to be in a box. You can just go outside of that box and create it the way you see it.
Yeah.
He showed me a little splash of that in Reservoir Dogs, but in Pulp Fiction, I really saw like,
right.
You can kind of do what you want to do when you make your own film.
You can.
It's your world, it's your universe you're creating. So I would definitely give it a 10 also. So the name of the show is the main ingredient.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, what is the one main ingredient of the movie that made you give it a 10? And that one thing could be anything about the movie.
I would say the storytelling.
Okay. You mean screenplay-wise?
In a sense of like not even just the character archetypes, because like you said, we didn't get revelations on all the characters, but I think it's the way that the story is tied together. It's almost like a film with like 4 different moving parts combined together. And it's interesting how the story completely ties together and intersects the characters, but it's not like one universal plot. Like, in some films, like there's the theme of the movie.
Yes.
You'll go and you'll read like the synopsis and it's like one theme and you understand what that theme is and everybody's working to serve that theme. In Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, every character has a dilemma. Every character is like faced with its own kind of space, from Marcellus Wallace to Jules to Vincent to Uma. It's just an interesting mirror of like expressing the point of view in using each of your characters to do that.
Right.
And I don't know that there is a central plot or theme if you truly think about it. Yeah, they go to get the suitcase and they go to bring it back.
Suitcase is supposed to be the central thing.
What is what is essentially the central theme plot, right? I don't know that he just directly puts a finger on that and says what that is. And I love that the storyline ties together with him still doing that. So I think the overall storyline, and how artistic it was is what the main ingredient of it was.
Okay.
What about you?
me personally, I love the writing in it. I think that he does a great job with the writing, even with the little controversy you call with saying the N words and stuff like that. I don't think it's excessive, especially in this movie. I don't think it's excessive. I think it's used by those characters who would, like we said before, who would naturally be saying that.
Would be saying it, yeah.
So I don't think he went overboard. I think as a Black director, I didn't see no big deal with it. But I think it was very well written. I think he wasted no words on the page. Like everything needed to be said how it was said by the characters it was said by. And the casting was just great. Like he casted it perfectly. Like I don't know what else to say about. I couldn't see any other actors playing these roles but the ones he got to play them. So I think he just did an incredible job all around with the movie. But I would say the screenplay.
Yeah.
Ingredient for me. I love the screenplay. I love the screen. The written word is just dope. I just like it. I'm really into that anyway. So I would say that. Quentin hasn't done a movie in a couple of years, right?
It's been a while. Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's hung it up or do you think he's marinating on something else? Because it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
And there was rumors that he was saying he was retiring. He was literally saying, I'm done with this. I've done everything I need to do.
I couldn't imagine what would ever make Quentin stop making films. Everything that he's made has its space.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is an incredible ode to filmmakers and actors and performers everywhere. I love that movie. I
like that one.
The Hateful Eight, Kill Bill. It's like, I couldn't see a rhyme or reason that would make him, stop creating. But I don't know, maybe with the movie industry changing, and, because cinema, isn't where it was before. There's a lot of content being made for streaming.
He was totally against that too. He likes real filmmaking.
You know,
going to see it at a cinema,
at the theater.
He's not with the streaming,
right?
He does not like that at all.
So I'm wondering if that might have, kind of been the catalyst.
I think if anything would make him quit, it would be that the technology is taking him out of what he initially wanted to be a filmmaker for.
Right.
So people can go to theaters and see his films.
Right.
You take that away, might not be, as attractive to him to keep making films. So I kind of get it.
I get it too.
I kind of get it. And he's achieved all the accolades that you would ever want to achieve.
But can you ever get enough accolades? I don't know.
That's a good point too. I don't know what Django got a lot of stuff. Django got a lot of awards.
I mean, he does have a lot of accolades, but there's a lot of filmmakers older than him that are still working, still making films, still, but to your point, cinema has changed.
It's changed.
And he's not as much of, I won't say special effects, but he's definitely more of a raw, kind of grittier, filmmaker. So I could see how that.
A lot of blood packs, right? Not a lot of CGI.
Right.
CGI.
So I could see that, maybe changing how he'd feel about filmmaking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tina G.
Yes.
It was wonderful having you here.
Thank
you always welcome. You family.
Thank you.
You family, you always welcome. Let the people know where they can find you.
So you can find me. I'm the creator and producer and host of Breaking Black Podcast. You can actually find me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere where you get your podcasts. I'm at Breaking Black Podcast on all social media. And then you can also find me on Facebook at Tina Gilton. So definitely come check me out. We're going live actually on August 20th on Facebook. We're going to have a live at 1 p.m. So come check us out. Myself and my guest host will be on our podcast and we'll be going live with the audience to talk to the audience. So yeah.
Okay. Once again, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. We'll do it again. We'll pick another movie,
Absolutely.
Do it again. It'll probably be a Tarantino movie. If it's with Tina, it's gonna be a Tarantino movie. But we love Tarantino movies here, so not a problem at all. Once again, Tina G, Chris Ellis. This is The Main Ingredient with Chris Ellis, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.